So, hello everyone. I thought I'd do a little video, although I'm going to have to charge this up because the battery's low. I am going to make poppy seed cake today. I'm going to try to do a half recipe of the dough, my grandmother's recipe, because it makes a huge amount of cakes, and I only want to make one poppy seed cake, plus maybe a Makoviec. No, Makoviec is the poppy seed cake. Placek, which is the, I'm going to get some peaches and put it on top of the dough. But right now I'm making the filling. Let's see, I'm going to get some honey out of my cupboard too. The filling recipe comes from, let's see here, this book that I've had forever. And you've got 3/4 of a cup of milk that you bring up to a boil, 1 cup of poppy seeds that I've ground in a coffee grinder. There'll be, you can use sugar or honey. I'm going to use 1/3 of a cup of honey in it, a teaspoon of vanilla, and 1 egg. So the milk came up to a simmer. And now I've got the ground poppy seeds in here, and these will cook for about 5 minutes until the ground seeds have absorbed a lot of the milk. So now you can see how the poppy seed has absorbed the milk, and now you can put sugar or honey, but I like to use honey because, oh, I don't know, it feels a little bit more traditionally Polish to me. So I'll scrape that out a little bit. And then what's going to happen is that when the sugar or honey is mixed in, the mixture will get a little bit more liquidy. Excuse me for my poor videography skills here. This is kind of, I'm doing it on the fly. I wasn't really intending to make a video, so I haven't really set things up very well. So now I've got the poppy seeds that have cooked for a little while with the honey, and I've got an egg I've beaten, and so that it doesn't curdle, you sort of temper the egg first. You don't sort of. You temper the egg first by putting in a spoonful or 2 of the poppy seed, a hot poppy seed. And then, turn that down, and then it goes into, the egg goes into the rest of the poppy seed mixture. And that will thicken it up for the filling. So now the poppy seed is, I don't know if you can see it there, it's thickened up, so it'll be like be able to be spread in the roll. And now you just put in a teaspoon of vanilla. You can flavor this in different ways. I have in the past also used grated orange rind. I've used cardamom. Some recipes have you putting in walnut, chopped nuts, chopped raisins, but I just wanted to keep it pure this time, just to get, I love the smell of that, the poppy seed flavor. So, excuse me, I am, there we go, hopefully I'm in that shot. So now I'm going to let this cool, and what I'm going to do is make a sponge, just with yeast dissolved in some warm water, some warm milk, and a cup of flour. And I'm going to let that set, and while I let that set, I'm going to go to the store and get an orange, because I don't have any grated orange rind, and some peaches to make the Placek, which is just the dough rolled out in like a casserole dish baking dish, and then the fruit lined up on top. Because this will probably, because with a half recipe of the dough, I'll probably have enough to do the poppy seed cake and the Placek, because this makes a lot of dough. But I will come back after I have charged up my Bloggy and show you the rest of the process. So I'm back from the market. My sponge is ready. That was left for maybe 45 minutes, and now let me see. This is the filling here. So this isn't till later. I'll go through and I'll show you what I'm going to put in the sponge. First, I'm going to beat the eggs and put in some salt, some grated orange rind, vanilla, and sugar. And those will go into the sponge, and then I'll start adding my flour, and then I'll put in the softened butter and add some more flour and do some kneading. Yeah. All right. So I will go about this in a very unprofessional way, but that's all right. I'm going to start, I'm going to stir down my sponge. So in the sponge there was 3/4 cup of milk and, I don't know, a little bit less than 1/4 cup of water, warm water with a teaspoon of yeast. And so next I'm going to, so that's ready for our other ingredients, which are going to be eggs, butter, and flavorings. And my mother always said, and I'm not sure it's true, that you put the salt in with the egg because it makes them yellower. I don't know that's true, but I still do that. Usually I use like maybe a 1/4 teaspoon salt. I'm doing half a recipe, so just, you know, maybe 1/8 of a teaspoon or so of salt in there. This was my mother's go-to recipe for, well, certain bake sales, but certainly at any of the holidays, Christmas and Easter, and then every once in a while, if there was a certain kind of bake sale that she wanted to contribute this to. So we've got a couple eggs, about 1/3 cup of sugar. I'm going to grate up maybe the rind of half of this orange. I realize that I really should probably keep some grated orange rind around so I don't have to run to the store. But I also needed to get some confectioner's sugar for later when the cakes are done. So there's the orange rind. The orange rind really makes it smell. It makes it smell the way I remember it. If it doesn't have the orange rind, I've done it with cardamom and lemon, and that's okay too. But the orange, I'm kind of doing the classic cake. It's comfort for me because I'm still adjusting and feeling a little lonely and things like that. So of course I fix the food that I like. So these are all mixed up now, and we're going to put it in with the sponge. And I sure hope I'm remembering everything. I may not be, but oh well. So let's stir that in, and then after this is stirred in, I'll start incorporating the rest of the flour. I'll put in a cup of flour, and then I'll put in the butter. And the butter is like half a cube, so that's 1/4 cup. This is probably more rich from the eggs. I don't know, it goes a long way. This recipe goes a really long way. It's a good base for a lot of other things. My mother would make for plain babka, she would make it for poppy seed roll, she would make it for the Placek, which I'm going to do with some white peaches. She would use it for cinnamon rolls. So it's kind of like the go-to coffee cake dough for our family. And it was my grandmother's, so I didn't know my grandmother. She died when I was 6 months old, so I never really got a chance to know her. So I rely on stories. I rely on some of the recipes that my mother got and passed down. I don't know, it's interesting. Even though my parents were very, very Polish, that's my grandparents are from Poland, both sets. But they were American too. They were, would that be first generation or second generation? First generation born here. So, you know, I didn't learn the language. My oldest brother learned the language a little bit more than me. My sister, she went to some Polish camps and stuff, but I tried when I was an adult when my kids were small, but it was like almost impossible. And I did get a Rosetta Stone, but it was the online version, and it was such a crazy year for me that I didn't stick with it. So I should get the CD. So now this is a soft dough. It's a soft sticky dough, and that's why the kneading doesn't happen right on the board or counter or whatever. It happens in the bowl because it is so sticky. Now if you have a KitchenAid with a dough hook, this would probably be the time that you would use the dough hook. I never have used that. I haven't done enough baking for me to warrant the purchase of that sort of thing. So I have to stand on my toes because I can't keep raising my arm up. So I kind of like working the dough with my hand. There's something very, I don't know, sensual about it, or just experiential about it. It feels more part of the process to me. And of course my mother always did it that way. She would always sit down and have the bowl on her lap. And I remember her kind of slapping the dough a little bit. I won't record this, but I'll come back later. This will set for probably, well, it's warm out today. It's nice because it's actually, it's not too hot, but it's very humid. So this might be raising for a couple of hours, and then once it's done raising, I will come back and I'll show you what it looks like, and then I will punch it down and do the poppy seed roll and the Placek. So just really quickly here, I just wanted to show, and probably anybody who is a baker knows this, you can see this is starting to pull away from the bowl, and it's also pulling away from my hand. And when you get to that point, that's when you know that you've developed the gluten enough that you can set it to rise, which I am going to do now. So we're back, and there's the dough. It's probably risen maybe, wow, 3 or 4 times the volume. And I'll gently deflate it here, and then I'm going to roll it out and do the roll and the fruit coffee cake. So I'm just going to, this is the first time I'm using this board for this, so this is going to be interesting. I'm probably going to use probably about, oh, I don't know, 2/3 of that dough for the poppy seed roll, just because it's going to be a bigger cake than the other one. The fruit one's just going to go in a little 8x8 pan. Oh, I suppose I should take the thing off the bottom. First time I'm using it. Anyway, so I'm going to get my hands kind of floury because this is a sticky dough, and try to gauge how much I want to save for the Placek. The Placek doesn't have to have a whole lot of dough on the bottom, and this dough, as you can see just in the rising, it's going to create a lot of volume, so the cakes always end up being a little bit bigger than what I expect. So this is, I'm going to make kind of a long roll here with this. Let me move this so that you can see a little bit here. My mother would always say that, oh, you've got to handle the dough gently, handle the dough gently. And I'm a little bit more of a brute with it, I think, than her. But certain things it's more important, like I forgot to mention before that this is the same dough that we use for making pączki, for making the fried jelly donuts. You know, some people have them for Shrove Tuesday, just before Ash Wednesday. We in our family never did them like that. For whatever reason, my grandmother did them for Christmas Eve, and then I guess New Year's was also a little bit more traditional. So now this is, I am not the best at rolling out for the poppy seed roll. It always ends up being a little bit crude. I haven't, my mother was great. She could get it all even, but I am not so good at that. We shall see how I do with this. Of course, they'll have to rise again a little bit before baking. Probably another half hour. So this is, this is the kind of thing where you want to have stuff that you're doing around the house. You don't want to have to, leave it. Well, you can leave it in between, like rising and stuff like that. But it really is kind of it's a long process. But it was a nice rainy day here, and I wanted to make a little video inside Baba Yaga's kitchen. I said, this is Baba Yaga's kitchen, a little bit of Eastern Europe in the middle of Virginia. So whenever I do Eastern European or Polish recipes, that's a friend of mine said, that's a great tagline. So there you go. But it's been a very, very wet, drippy, humid day, but not hot. I don't think it's gotten over the mid to upper 70s, and it's a little bit tropical, but I find it rather pleasant. It's just a little gray. The house here, because of all the trees, it already is a little bit, the light is already very filtered, so makes it a little dark. At one point during this morning I was a little bit sleepy. Thought, oh, you know what? I could probably take another nap, or take a nap. So, yeah, so that's kind of even. You don't want it, I always fill it too thick, but I'm still fine-tuning my ability to do this. And then you roll it up jelly roll style. Again, it's a very soft dough, so you kind of handle it gently. And then when you get to the edges, you do a bunch of pinching to keep it together. kind of turn it over on the end, pinch it. My mother never, I don't remember, at least at home, my mother ever calling this Makowiec. I only learned Makowiec was the Polish term for the jelly roll as an adult. I'm looking at different recipes. So I'm going to kind of roll it a little bit to get it shaped nicely. And then I've got some Silpat, but I'm going to put a little bit of flour on it too. And this one, it's just going to go on here like this, and then we'll cover it and let it rise for a little bit. There we go. Like I say, I'm not, I suppose if I did this like several times a month, I would get better at the shaping, but that is why I have a tendency to do rustic baking because I really am not very good at the shaping stuff. I think I'm probably just too impatient. So now for the other one, this out of the way, put that in there. So this one is called a Placek, which is, to my knowledge, at least according to my mom, that just meant a fruit-topped coffee cake. And you can do any kind of fruit. You can even do hard fruits, like in the fall. You can do apples and pears, but to do the apples, you, at least I haven't tried any of the way. I will like cook them a little bit first, because otherwise they might not cook all the way through. So this one's just going to be fairly thin in this 8x8 pan, and it doesn't even, you can kind of shape it in there. Bring it over here so you can see what I'm doing a little bit. So this one, it's not as critical. It'll fill out the pan. Try to get it even if you can. And this one is kind of more about it being a base for the fruit topping. And it's what I really love, and what I don't find out here in Virginia like I did in California, are apricots. Apricots are like one of my absolute favorites, but it's okay. Hopefully I'm going to go to a peach farm or peach orchard this weekend. So I tossed these, I macerated the peaches when it's, let me see if I can talk, in some sugar and orange juice and a little bit of blackberry moonshine that a friend of mine gave me for a housewarming gift. And so these will bake down and soften up. These were not as soft as I would have liked, but since they're a soft stone fruit, they will they'll cook in the baking. So you can use whatever you like. You can use plums, peaches, nectarines, apricots. And like I say, if you use some of the harder fruits, like apples and pears, you might want to cook them a little bit first. I love listening to the birds when the windows are open, which I can do on a day like this. Kind of weird that way, I guess. Don't like being holed up inside air conditioning, but maybe that's because I'm always cold. So I think that's good. I might tuck a couple more in here at the ends. Just, this one could use another one right there. All right. So I'm going to let these rise some more and then bake. I may do a little clip of what they look like when they're risen, but for sure I will show you when they're all finished baking. So here's the finished products, the poppy seed roll and the Placek, and I just did a little bit of confectioner's sugar with a little bit of half and half and almond extract. If you like a different flavoring, I suppose you could use it, but that's it. It turned out pretty well. I don't know what I'm going to do with all this cake now. I suppose I'll have to eat some of it. Probably freeze some of it. Maybe I should have a dessert party. Anyway, that's Baba Yaga's kitchen for the first installment. All right, have a good rest of your day. Bye.